Men, pay attention. Because what I'm about to share with you is not something you will easily find in a book or hear in casual conversation. Women carry with them a set of unspoken truths, subtle desires, silent frustrations, hidden longings that often remain veiled behind what is said, and even more behind what is unsaid. These are not cliches or stereotypes. They are the nuances that shape the way women love, the way they connect, the way they withhold, and the way they give. For too long, men and women have spoken in parallel languages, hearing but not truly listening, seeing but not fully perceiving. And so today, I want to open a window into 7 secrets women rarely admit, even to themselves. These are not confessions. They are revelations about intimacy, attraction, power, and vulnerability. When men understand these subtleties, relationships stop being a battlefield of assumptions and start becoming a space of curiosity and depth. So if you've ever wondered what lies beneath a woman's silence, behind her laughter, or within her gaze, this is your invitation to listen differently, to look closer, and to understand on a level most men never reach. When we talk about understanding women, most men expect direct answers, as if there is a manual that can be opened and followed step by step. But women rarely reveal themselves in that way. The truth is, much of what shapes a woman's inner world is not expressed in the words she speaks, but in the pauses between them, in the gestures that seem casual yet carry deep significance, in the things she chooses not to say because silence feels safer than vulnerability. One of the most overlooked aspects of female psychology is that women often carry dualities within themselves, and these dualities are not contradictions. They are realities that exist side by side. A woman can want closeness while also desiring independence. She can long to be cherished while also wanting to be challenged. She can crave intimacy and yet resist being fully exposed. Men often misinterpret these complexities as confusion or inconsistency, when in fact they are expressions of depth. If you look closely, you will notice that women rarely admit the full extent of their desires, because they are conditioned from a young age to be agreeable, to please, to maintain harmony. Society tells women to be nurturing, selfless, and available, but it rarely gives them permission to be bold, demanding, or unapologetically selfish. This tension creates an inner world where much is kept hidden. A woman may not tell you that she secretly longs to be pursued even after years of being in a relationship because she fears it will make her seem needy. She may not admit that she notices the way other men look at her. That part of her enjoys that attention because she has been taught that such admissions are dangerous, even shameful. She may never say that sometimes she tests your attention not because she doubts you, but because she wants to feel the reassurance that she is still captivating in your eyes. To understand these unspoken truths, a man must learn to read beyond the surface. He must see the ways a woman communicates indirectly, because women are often socialized to hint rather than to declare. They will drop fragments of truth in conversation, waiting to see if you pick them up. They will reveal themselves in metaphors, in stories about others, and in the subtle shifts of tone when they say, "It's fine," when it is anything but fine. Many men take these moments at face value, believing the literal meaning of the words, while missing the emotional meaning underneath. And this is where so much distance between men and women is created, not in what is said, but in what is overlooked. A woman's first secret, then, is that she carries a hidden language. It is a language of illusion, of implication, of suggestion. It is not a language of deception, but of protection, because to speak directly about her deepest desires is often to risk judgment, rejection, or misunderstanding. The unspoken becomes a shield, a way of maintaining dignity and safety, while still hoping quietly that someone will hear what is not being spoken. The men who can listen at this deeper level, who can notice the unsaid as much as the said, are the ones who gain access to a part of a woman that remains invisible to most. But this is not simply about decoding or analyzing, as though a woman were a puzzle to be solved. It is about cultivating presence, about being attentive in a way that makes her feel seen without her having to scream for recognition. Too often men think they need grand gestures or dramatic confessions to win a woman's trust. In truth, it is the micro moments of attentiveness, the quiet acts of noticing, that unlock what women rarely admit. When you sense the shift in her energy and gently ask what she is holding back, when you recognize that her silence is not indifference but a request for care, when you show her that you can hold both her strength and her fragility, these are the ways you begin to touch the parts of her that remain hidden. Women are often more transparent with themselves in private than they are in public. They may journal their unspoken feelings, confess them to a close friend, or wrestle with them in the solitude of their minds. But with men, especially in relationships, they hold back. Why? Because the cultural narrative has not made space for their full expression. Women who speak too openly about what they want are called demanding, dramatic, or difficult. And so they become careful, they choose their words strategically, and sometimes they say nothing at all. The result is that many men live with women for years and still do not truly know them. They see the external presentation but not the inner dialogue. They hear the conversations but not the hidden voice beneath them. To recognize this first secret is to realize that intimacy is not built on what a woman says, but on how deeply you are willing to listen, and listening is not passive. It is active, it requires curiosity, patience, and a willingness to sit with ambiguity. A woman will not hand you her inner world on a silver platter. She will reveal it piece by piece, testing whether you are capable of holding it without judgment, whether you can remain steady in the face of contradictions, whether you can love her not just for the parts that are easy to understand, but also for the parts that are layered, complex, and not immediately clear. This first secret is the foundation upon which all the others stand. It reminds us that what women never admit outright is often where their truth lives. And if you want to move closer to that truth, you must stop listening only with your ears and start listening with your presence, with your attention, with your willingness to perceive what lies beneath the surface of words. Another truth that women rarely admit is the depth of their longing for emotional security, even when they appear independent, confident, and entirely self-sufficient. The modern woman has been taught to project strength, to prove that she does not need anyone, to show that she can stand alone. And indeed she can. She is capable of building a career, raising children, making decisions, and holding her ground. But beneath this surface of competence, there exists an unspoken desire to feel deeply held, not just physically but emotionally, to know that there is a place where she does not have to perform strength, where she can let go of the armor she wears in the world. It is a paradox, because society celebrates her independence but rarely acknowledges her yearning for interdependence, and so she often keeps this secret locked away, revealing only glimpses of it to the man she hopes will understand without her needing to confess. If you pay attention, you will notice that this longing for security is not about control, nor is it about dependence in the way men often misunderstand it. It is not that she cannot survive on her own, it is that she wants to feel that she doesn't have to be in survival mode with you. She wants to know that with you she can exhale, that she can stop proving herself, stop competing, stop performing, and simply be. Many men confuse this with weakness, when in fact it is one of the most courageous desires a woman can have, to want a place where her strength is not questioned but supported, where her vulnerability is not exploited but cherished. Yet she rarely speaks of this directly, because to admit it feels risky, as though it might make her appear fragile, needy, or less capable in your eyes. Think about the way a woman tests you, not always consciously, but through small moments. She might share a fear, a disappointment, or a past wound, not to burden you but to see how you will respond. Will you dismiss it, minimize it, change the subject, or will you hold it, not with solutions but with presence? These moments are not trivial, they are invitations. They are her way of saying, without saying, I need to know that my inner world is safe with you. This is the secret she carries, that behind her independence is the quiet hope that someone will recognize her need for safety, without making her feel ashamed for having it. The irony is that the stronger a woman appears, the less likely people are to recognize this need. The world assumes that if she is capable, she must not need support, but strength does not erase longing. It simply makes it more invisible. And so she walks through life appearing unshakable, while inside she carries the same human hunger for reassurance, for stability, for a bond that grounds her. The man who can perceive this, who can offer emotional consistency without making it a condition, becomes more than a partner, he becomes a sanctuary. And every woman, no matter how fierce or independent, dreams of having that sanctuary, but here is the part she will never tell you openly. Emotional security is not about always agreeing with her or never challenging her. In fact, it is the opposite. A woman feels most secure when she knows that she can bring her full self into the relationship, her joy and her anger, her tenderness and her intensity, and you will not collapse under it. She does not need you to solve her emotions, she needs you to withstand them. Emotional security is not silence, it is the capacity to stay present when things become uncomfortable, to let her see that she does not have to hide her messiness for fear of losing you. She wants to know that her truth will not scare you away. This secret is especially hard for women to admit because it touches on a deep vulnerability. To say, "I want to feel safe with you," can feel almost like a confession of weakness, and in a culture that prizes independence, women hesitate to speak such words. They might show it instead through indirect ways, through their reactions when you withdraw, through the subtle disappointment when you brush aside their emotions, through the quiet gratitude when you simply listen without rushing to fix. These are the places where she is communicating her need for security without ever naming it. And it is here that many men miss the message, because they are listening for direct statements instead of emotional signals. What makes this even more complex is that women often fear being too much, too emotional, too demanding, too complicated. They have learned to censor themselves, to tone down their needs, to stay palatable. And so rather than ask directly for emotional safety, they test whether it already exists. If she feels she cannot express her depth without judgment, she will withdraw into silence, carrying her need privately. But if she senses that you can hold space for her without flinching, she will open slowly, cautiously, revealing more of what she hides. This is not a one-time revelation, it is an ongoing negotiation of trust, a continual unveiling that depends on how you respond each time she risks being vulnerable. Understanding this second secret means recognizing that what she hides is not weakness but humanity. It is the part of her that longs to rest, to soften, to stop carrying the weight of the world alone, and though she may never articulate it in words, though she may even deny it if confronted, this desire runs deep. To be the man who sees it without forcing her to confess it, who provides security without making her feel dependent, who offers steadiness without trying to control, this is to unlock something few men ever touch in a woman. Another secret women rarely admit is the extent to which they crave novelty, excitement, and aliveness in a relationship, even when everything on the surface looks steady and secure. Stability is essential, yes, but stability without stimulation quickly becomes suffocating. Women often wrestle with this inner tension between the comfort of what is familiar and the thrill of what is unpredictable. She wants to know that she can count on you, but she also wants to be surprised by you. She desires the safety of belonging, but she also longs for the spark of desire that comes from not fully possessing, from not fully knowing. This paradox is at the heart of female eroticism, and it is something that few women say openly because it challenges the cultural ideal of lasting love as something steady, constant, and free from fluctuation. A woman may never tell you that what excites her most is not always the daily routines you build together, but the moments when you remind her of mystery, when you remind her that even in intimacy there is something unknowable between you. She may never admit that while she values your consistency, she also wants to feel moments of unpredictability, when you initiate in ways she didn't expect, when you show her sides of yourself she hasn't yet seen. When you disrupt the monotony of daily life with gestures that remind her of passion. This longing is not a rejection of love or stability, but a recognition that passion cannot thrive in an environment of only predictability. Love may be built on safety, but desire is fueled by curiosity, risk, and a sense of discovery. This is why many women struggle silently with the loss of attraction in long-term relationships. They may continue to love deeply, to care, to nurture, but they feel the erosion of desire, and instead of speaking it out loud, they keep it hidden. To say, "I miss the spark," feels dangerous, as though it threatens the stability of the bond. To admit, "I still want to be surprised by you," feels like a criticism, as though love is not enough. And so she swallows this secret. She masks it behind busyness, behind routines, behind the language of practicality, when in truth she is yearning for moments that make her feel awake again. She may never say it, but she is constantly watching to see if you will notice when the spark begins to fade, and if you will be bold enough to reignite it. Men often mistake this longing for novelty as a sign of dissatisfaction or disloyalty. They think that if a woman craves excitement, it must mean she is unhappy with the relationship. But that is not the case. It is entirely possible for a woman to feel secure in your love and still want to feel the rush of being desired in a way that feels new. She wants both the home that feels stable and the fire that feels unpredictable. This duality is not a contradiction, it is a truth of human desire. The challenge is that many men grow complacent in long-term relationships, believing that once love is secured, desire will take care of itself. But desire is not automatic. It must be cultivated. And women, more often than not, are the ones who feel this gap most acutely. She may never confess to you that she misses the early days, not because she doubts the love you share now, but because she misses the energy of pursuit, the uncertainty, the thrill of not knowing what will happen next. That initial stage of love carries an element of risk. You could win her, or you could lose her, and it is precisely that risk that fuels passion. Over time, as certainty grows, the risk diminishes, and with it, so does the edge of desire. Women feel this deeply but rarely articulate it, because to do so feels almost like accusing you of failing, when the truth is this is not about failure. It is about the natural tension between security and excitement, and the fact that sustaining desire requires intentional effort. The woman who keeps this secret hidden may drop subtle hints in her behavior. She might encourage you to try something new together, whether in intimacy, in travel, in conversation. She may create opportunities for novelty, but if those efforts are ignored or dismissed, she begins to internalize the idea that her longing is unreasonable. Slowly she may stop asking, stop suggesting, and retreat into silence, while her desire withers in the background. This is the unspoken grief many women carry, that they still love their partner but no longer feel fully alive in their connection. They long to tell the truth, but they fear it will be misunderstood, that it will hurt you, that it will create conflict. So they keep it quiet, hoping you will sense it without them having to risk saying it out loud. To understand the secret is to recognize that women want to feel pursued, not just at the beginning, but throughout the relationship. They want to feel that they are not fully conquered, that there are still parts of them that inspire you to chase, to discover, to be curious. They want to feel the electricity of being surprised, the intoxication of being reminded that love is not just a bond, but also an adventure. And while they may never admit it outright, they are quietly waiting to see if you are willing to bring that energy into the relationship, not just once, but again and again. When a woman feels this aliveness, she lights up in ways that extend far beyond the relationship itself. She carries that energy into her work, her friendships, her creativity, her sense of self. Passion within the relationship fuels her vitality outside of it. This is why the secret is so profound, because it is not just about wanting excitement for its own sake, but about wanting to feel awake, alive, and inspired. It is about wanting a relationship that does not just provide security, but also evokes wonder, curiosity, and desire. And though she may rarely admit this aloud, it is one of the most powerful longings she carries within her. Another secret women rarely admit is how deeply they crave to feel desired, not only loved. Love is essential, but love without desire can feel like a bond stripped of its electricity. A woman may know with certainty that you love her, that you are loyal, that you are committed, but still carry a hunger to feel that you want her, that you are drawn to her with intensity, that she awakens in you a sense of longing. Many men confuse love with desire, assuming that if they show care, devotion, and responsibility, the rest will. Yet women often separate these experiences internally. Love tells her she is safe, cherished, and valued, but desire tells her she is alive, magnetic, and captivating. Without the presence of desire, love can sometimes feel like friendship, wearing the clothes of intimacy. This is one of the most vulnerable truths women hold back from saying, because to speak it out loud can feel almost selfish or shallow. To say I want you to want me sounds fragile, as though love alone were not enough, as though her need for validation undermined her independence. But this is not about vanity, it is about vitality. Desire is not only about physical attraction, it is about feeling seen through the lens of passion, not just duty. It is about knowing that even after years of being together, there is still something about her that excites you, that interrupts your thoughts, that pulls you toward her. When a woman feels this, she comes alive. When she doesn't, she begins to quietly doubt her own radiance, even if she never admits it to you. This longing often reveals itself in small, indirect ways. She may change her hair, buy a new dress, adjust the way she carries herself, not because she wants compliments, but because she is watching to see if you notice. She may drop hints, create opportunities for intimacy, or try to invite playfulness back into the space between you. But if her efforts are consistently overlooked, if she feels taken for granted, she eventually begins to retreat. She will not confront it directly at first, because it feels too risky to say, I don't just want to be loved, I want to be desired. Instead, she keeps the longing hidden, masking it behind her responsibilities, distracting herself with work, family, or friends. The truth is, she is waiting, often silently, for you to remind her that she is still the woman who can spark fire in you. For men, the distinction between love and desire is sometimes difficult to grasp. Men often show love by providing, by protecting, by showing up. And while women appreciate this deeply, it does not automatically translate into desire. She wants to know that when you look at her, you do not just see a partner, a mother, a caretaker, or a companion. You see a woman who stirs something primal in you, a woman who is still capable of taking your breath away. This is not about constant passion or unrealistic fantasies. It is about moments, gestures, words, and touches that communicate, without doubt, that she is still wanted, that she is not simply familiar, but captivating. Many women silently fear becoming invisible in their own relationships. Over time, as routines take over, as responsibilities mount, they begin to feel more like background than center. Peace, more like reliable presence than unforgettable mystery. And while they may never speak it aloud, the loss of feeling desired weighs heavily. It is not about beauty alone, or youth, or comparison with others. It is about the experience of still feeling chosen every day, in small ways. To feel your gaze linger, to feel your touch ignite, to feel your words affirm what she silently longs to hear, that she is still the woman who moves you, not just the one who lives beside you. The complexity is that women often hesitate to voice this need because it can be misinterpreted as insecurity, and yet it is not insecurity at all. It is a recognition that desire is not static. It is a force that needs tending, that needs to be expressed, not just assumed. When you speak desire into existence, when you show it through your actions, you reassure her of something she cannot simply deduce from love alone. Love is steady, but desire is alive, and she wants both. She wants to feel the warmth of your loyalty, and the heat of your passion, the comfort of your presence, and the thrill of your warmth. There is also a deeper layer to this sequence. Desire affirms not only her attractiveness to you, but also her connection to her own femininity, her own sense of self. When she feels desire, she is reminded of her vitality, her magnetism, her power. She does not only crave it for the sake of the relationship, she craves because it keeps her in touch with herself. And when it is missing, she does not only feel the absence of your attention, she feels the dimming of her own light. She may never put this into words, but this is why your desire matters so deeply to her. It feeds something within her that she cannot feed alone. So often, women are told to be content with being loved, as though love should be enough, as though desire is an unnecessary luxury. But the truth is, love without desire feels incomplete. Women may not confess this openly, because they do not want to appear ungrateful, but the absence of desire creates a silence in them, a silence that grows heavier with time. They will continue to give love, to nurture, to maintain the bond, but inside, a part of them is waiting to feel that spark again. And when they do, even in small moments, it revives them in ways that words cannot capture. Another secret women rarely admit is how much they long for emotional depth in conversations, the kind of connection that goes beyond the surface of daily life. A woman may talk about routines, schedules, tasks, and responsibilities, but beneath them, she yearns for dialogue that touches the soul, exchanges that make her feel not just heard, but understood, not just acknowledged, but felt. Many men assume that conversation is simply about information, about the practical sharing of details and decisions. But for a woman, conversation is intimacy. The words are not just about content, they are about connection. When she shares her thoughts, she is not simply reporting her day, she is offering a piece of herself, and she watches closely to see if you receive it. This longing for depth is something women often keep hidden, because to admit it outright can feel like asking too much. They fear being told they are needy, dramatic, or overly emotional, so instead of demanding it, they quietly test for it. They may ask you questions that seem simple, but are actually invitations. They may bring up memories, dreams, or even words, not to weigh you down, but to see if you will meet them in that space. If you respond with presence, if you slow down enough to truly listen, to explore, to stay curious, they feel nourished. But if you brush it aside, if you minimize, if you give quick answers without engagement, they feel the distance immediately. And rather than argue about it, most women simply retreat into silence, holding their need privately. What makes this secret so profound is that it is less about the words themselves and more about the energy behind them. A woman wants to feel that you are not only hearing her, but also entering her world, that you are willing to step into her inner landscape, to walk with her through her feelings, her reflections, her doubts. She doesn't want you to fix everything. She wants you to join her in exploring it. This is where so many men misunderstand the need. They believe that if they don't have solutions, they are failing. But she is not looking for solutions. She is looking for resonance. She wants to know that when she speaks, something inside you shifts, that her inner world does not echo into emptiness, but lands in the presence of someone who cares. Women rarely admit this secret because it reveals a vulnerability. To say I want deeper conversations feels like confessing a void, and it risks being dismissed as unnecessary. Yet without this depth, women often feel starved in relationships. They may have love, stability, even affection, but without meaningful dialogue, they feel emotionally alone. They may hide this by turning to friends, to sisters, to journals, to therapists, outlets where they can experience the depth they crave. But in silence, they still wish for it from the man they love most. They want to feel that the person who shares their bed also shares their soul, that their partner is not just present in body, but also in mind and heart. The tragedy is that many women lower their expectations over time. When repeated attempts at depth are dismissed or ignored, they stop asking. They stop bringing up the things that matter most to them, and instead keep the conversation safe, functional, shallow. Outwardly, everything seems fine. The relationship looks smooth. There are no big arguments. But underneath, she is grieving. Grieving, not the absence of love, but the absence of depth, of soul-to-soul connection. And she rarely admits this, because she fears it will be seen as criticism, when in truth, it is a yearning. This secret also points to a larger truth about the female psyche. Women are wired for connection. They find meaning not only in what is done,
but in what is shared. A woman does not just want to know what you did today. She wants to know how you felt about it, what it stirred in you, what it revealed about you. This is not because she is nosy or demanding, but because intimacy for her is not just physical closeness, but emotional transparency. When she knows your inner world, she feels tethered to you. When she is kept at the surface, she feels untethered, even if you are physically present. When this kind of depth is present, it transforms the entire relationship. She becomes more expressive, more alive, more playful. Her trust grows. Her openness expands. Her desire flourishes. Because for a woman, to be truly known is the most intoxicating form of intimacy. And though she may never admit it out loud, what she secretly longs for most is not just your time, but your attention. Not just your love, but your depth. Not just your presence, but your willingness to enter the inner world she quietly hopes you want to explore with her. Another secret women rarely admit is the complexity of their relationship with power and control and intimacy. On one hand, a woman often wants to feel in charge of her life, to know that she has agency, autonomy, and authority over her choices. The silence around this secret is heavy because it holds both fear and longing. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of being shamed, fear of being too much or not enough, longing for freedom, longing for release, longing for the chance to live fully in both strength and softness. Women want to be powerful without losing the right to be vulnerable. They want to be cherished in their surrender without being controlled. They want to be seen not as contradictions, but as whole beings who can hold multiple truths at once. And while they may rarely admit this aloud, it is one of the deepest and most defining aspects of their inner world.